So you guys have a very particular sound, you know, and you take a lot of consideration into what amps you use and how they're tuned and everything like that. With the way sound is now, and everybody's listening to stuff on, you know, crappy headphones and on their laptop speakers, like, you know, how does it feel to understand that most people will never actually hear that sound?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seems like there's a, you know, like good headphones are trendy these days.
Yeah.
Popular.
Headphones are awesome.
Everybody's got these big headphones, you know, nowadays. So I think there are people that are still, you know, concerned with quality of sound that they're listening to. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I would say that really the record is kind of an unfortunate side effect of being in a band. You have to make the album to kind of document what it is that we do, which is play live rock shows. And so if people really want to hear the amps, they're just going to come to the show and hear us crank them. So that's, you know, I'm trying to think too hard about it when you're making the record. Like, yeah, it sounds good, but
I mean,
don't, you know.
There's so many people these days too that like listen to records.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And buy vinyl and listen to it, you know. And so, yeah, I think people know that, you know, like earbuds and an iPod is not the best sound quality they can get, you know.
Hello vinyl community, I'm back with you again to do another video this week, and as with any week I'm picking 5 records I've been spinning lately, and I'm just going to talk about them a little bit. I also got 2 packages of VCLT that I'm going to open up at the end and see what I got. So let's get started. So this is going to be a mixed bag again this week. So for this week, to kick things off, a band that I've really been getting into is The Sword. And this is high country, and this is easily becoming one of my favorite albums of this year. The Sword, they're classified as a doom metal band out of Austin. But unlike their previous albums, I really like this one because they are taking risks, and they're not, you know, playing the same tunes over and over again, different, you know, chord structure. With this one, they're playing acoustic. They brought in some horns on some tracks. They're playing a synth, so, you know, they're really mixing it up, so it's not in the same vein. Now, that's what I really like about bands that, you know, really start to progress, because it gets interesting. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out, but with this band it really does. So there's some proggy elements to it. It starts out with some great instrumental work, and it's a gatefold. Nice shot of the band in the studio, and it comes in multiple colors, but the one that I got is on this purple type color. So 2 albums, comes with a download code. I do recommend checking them out if you're into the doom metal genre, but again, this is a little bit of a departure from their previous albums, and, you know, I really enjoyed it. So easily becoming one of my favorites of 2015. My next 2 are actually the new Music Matters releases, so I'm going to go into jazz. And to kick things off, these are the last 2 albums that Music Matters is releasing this year, and I'm eagerly awaiting the announcement for what they're going to release next year. Now, this is Horace Parlan's Us 3, hence the acid jazz group. And I think they took their name from this particular label. I may be wrong on that, but I think, you know, this was the inspiration for them. And again, nice gatefold. And Horace Parlan was kind of an interesting pianist, because he contracted polio when he was younger, and with his right hand, as you can see, he cannot use his little finger and this finger here, so it really affected his style of playing, but he does a fantastic job. Now, this particular album was released on 45 RPM before, so it's one that I've listened to. to me, it's not his best. I really dig the Us 3 track. I think that is probably one of the highlights of his career. But he plays quite a few standards, like The Lady is a Tramp, Come Rain or Come Shine. I like it when they play standards, but this one just didn't work out for me. But this does have some good stuff on it. He does a cover of Dinah Washington's "I Want to Be Loved," and if you haven't heard Dinah Washington's take on that track, it's really worth your time. But he's playing with George Tucker and Al Harwood, which is a partnership he had in the early '60s, and he released 3 or 4 Blue Note titles with the bassist and the drummers, so definitely worth checking out. Next was one that, this is one of the hardest to find Blue Notes. It is Kenny Clarke and Francy, Boland and Company, so this really has a big band vibe. So Kenny Clarke, if you're not aware of him, he is a drummer, and he is the forerunner to developing the bebop style of drumming. When it got to the early to mid 60s, he went over to Europe, hooked up with Belgian pianist Francy Boland, and they kind of did a one-off album, The Golden Eight, which is a big band take. Now, at this time in the 60s, big band had faded in the United States, but what I like about Europe is they have a tendency to keep things going. So all you Europeans out there, thank you. But this is kind of a departure from the other Music Matters because this does feature color photos. And this was not released on 45 RPM. And it's just fantastic. Now, if you guys are not aware of the London Jazz Collector, his website, I recommend hooking up with his website if you like jazz, because he has a regular email info that he sends out to people about albums that he picked up, and he happened to get a sample copy of this, and he just raved about it. He does not have an original pressing, but he said that he had some Japanese pressings, I believe, that this is just vastly superior, and he was enthralled with it. But if you're into big band type of style, definitely check this out. The next one I have is a French record, and this was a gift from Christophe, Chris 4127 Basket, and Chris, I have been spinning all your albums, but this one I wanted to highlight. So Bruno, Mr. Seasbreeze, corrected me on my pronunciation of this guy, so it's Bernard Lavilliers, so you can grade me on my pronunciation, so thank you, Bruno. And this was really enjoyable, and Chris said that it's a common record, and I can understand why it's common, because it's good. And when you don't have a whole lot of experience with French music in that era, your natural inclination is to try and find something to compare it to. So in my case, Serge Gainsbourg. So if you like Serge Gainsbourg for the guys in the States, definitely give this one a shot. So I did a little bit of research on Bernard, and he was a former boxer and got into music, spent a lot of time in South America, and then came back to France and really kind of hit it off. And he was also an actor to some degree. But this really has an interesting vibe. It's Chanson. He talks, in some cases, not so much singing, but the music is so enthralling, just like a late 60s, early 70s Serge Gainsbourg album. So I do recommend this. This was a gatefold and issued on Polydor. So on this wonderful label here. So once again, Chris, thank you very much for exposing me to this, because I really enjoyed this, and I spun it like 3 or 4 times after cleaning it up. The last album I've been spinning quite a bit is my first ever Mondo release. So if you guys are not familiar with Mondo, they are a Austin-based company that really takes commercial-based pop culture properties, and they've been doing posters, having artists redo posters and trinkets, and they got into vinyl. So I've always been a fan of James Horner's music for the movie Aliens. James Horner was a student of Grigory Ligeti when he was studying in London, and you can tell Ligeti's influences on this work, and I think Horner's soundtrack works really well with the movie, just emphasizing the mood. Unfortunately, Horner died this year in a plane crash, which is kind of sad because I really liked him as a composer, and he's done a lot of great work. Like, I really loved his soundtrack to Glory, his work there. Now, GZ vinyl pressed this. I can tell because it has an etched numbering that is unique to GZ, so I think Mondo contracts to Pirates Press out of San Francisco, and then San Francisco contracts to GZ. Now, GZ can't do analog; they only do digital masters, and they do direct to metal cuttings. This, I get a sense, was cut exactly from the CD master. It sounds good, at least on my system, but I don't think the mastering was unique to this. They could have used a CD, who knows, they don't indicate, but all the mastering credits here, they're identical to the 2001 CD reissue. Now, I do have this on CD. I don't have the 2001 issue to compare it to, but it's better than my Varse Saraband original issue, which came out in the 80s. Again, Mondo is really into coming up with something unique artistically. Now, musically, the pressing is good. It sounds good. Again, it's better than my CD. They do have different colored runs, so they did this blue run. They did a yellow run. I got it from Amoeba. My only disappointment was it got kind of cut along the spine, and then the corner got dinged up. So Mondo's interesting. Check them out. I mean, they've done Jurassic Park. They've done a few other movies. They're doing the Back to Future soundtrack. So if you're into movie soundtracks, they're worth checking out. Now to the VC. So Steve, Vinyl Therapy, sent me a package, and so did Chris at Dixieland Farm. I'm going to open up Chris's first here. I know one of the things he sent me a CD. He did a transfer of Art Blakey's Kubop, which I'm thankful for. And lo and behold, here it is. Thank you very much, sir. And holy smokes. Yeah, you didn't have to do that. Thank you very much, Chris. I do not have this. I've been looking for it, of course. I think Art Blakey has some 200 albums in his discography, and thank you. You didn't have to do this. And he sent me something else. A Jimmy Smith record. The best of Jimmy Smith on Verve. So, thank you, Chris. This is another one I do not have. Jimmy Smith, who knows how many records he has in his discography. He was a record producing machine. So, thank you very much, sir. Now I'm going to open up Steve. I did get a sense of what he sent me in one of his videos, and let me open this guy up. So he sent me a nice letter. Okay. Thank you, Steve. You didn't have to do this. So he sent me a Charlie Parker Memorial album, and it looks to be pristine. So you're spoiling me, sir. I look forward to spinning this one. Thank you. And this one I knew he was going to send me because I saw it in his video. So, Afro-Latin Soul by the Ethiopian Quintet. So, again, thank you. You really didn't need to send me anything. I'm going to have to return the favor somehow. So, thank you very much. I hope you do more videos. You have some wonderful pieces in your collection, as I'm aware, and I look forward to you talking to about them a little bit more. So, despite your challenges that you have in life, it's great to hear from you, sir. And thank you, everyone, for watching, and have a great week, everyone.